Well, good evening. Welcome to Kopernik Observatory. My name is Drew Desker. I'm the director here at Kopernik, and it's great to see such a full crowd on such a horrible sky night. And anyway, it's great to see you here. It's also great to see some familiar faces. Just as a matter of interest, who's here for the first time or hasn't been here in, say, 30 years? Okay, pretty much everybody. Okay, who here are members? 1, 2. Okay, well, those people that are members actually have a very special knowledge. Kopernik belongs to a consortium of science centers called the ASTC, Association of Science and Technology Centers. And with a Kopernik membership, you can get in not only here for free for a year, but you can also get into 350 other science centers. So if you like this kind of place, you like going to Robeson or the Ithaca Science Center or Museum of Science and Technology up in Syracuse, or the Intrepid down in New York City, or the Franklin Institute in Philly, your Kopernik membership gets you in for free. So for those that are sort of new to Kopernik, we are an informal STEM education facility and an observatory. We do have 4 permanent telescopes, 3 in the domes and 1 in our physics classroom. We do a lot of school outreach. In fact, this morning I was at an elementary school in Binghamton doing some STEM outreach with a partnership with NASA. And actually our students there got an opportunity to listen to a school contact. The astronaut, one of the astronauts on the ISS, using ham radio, was able to actually talk to a group of students down in Melbourne, Florida. But we were able to hear the downlink up here in Binghamton. So the kids actually got to hear the astronaut talking to the students. We do an extensive summer camp program that as we just opened up the registration last Saturday, and we are now about 2/3 full. And this is for students that are between that are currently in first grade, in sort of rising second graders, up through high schoolers. And so if you've got somebody that sort of falls into that category, check out our website and see if anything interests you there. We actually are doing a high altitude balloon program, which does not carry people, but will actually go up to over 100,000 feet, and with a payload, and then we recover it when it comes back down. So we got a lot of good stuff that goes on here. Would love to see you up for future events. Again, for those that did pay to get in here, we have a rule that you cannot leave until you look through a telescope. Unfortunately, tonight you're only going to see black. So assuming some miracle doesn't happen and the skies open up, you will be able to give you a complimentary card to come back on a future night when the skies are better, or there's another program that you just want to see. So every Friday night we do a public program from March to mid-December on some aspect of science or technology. It isn't just about astronomy. And it's an opportunity for us to sort of promote lifelong learning. So it's great to see some young students here and some people who've been here longer than than the younger ones. And how to dance around that one, yeah, exactly. But anyway, it's really an opportunity to learn how the world works. And so a couple of years ago, I live here in Vestal, and I was going home, and somebody had moved out across the street, and then all of a sudden, I see some cars and some activity in what was a recently empty house, and I saw what looked to be like a hot air balloon basket. And I'm thinking, I got to get to know this guy. And so actually Dar is my neighbor. And it's all good. It's funny because that's just what he said about you. He said something about charging you double, but anyway, no, it's been this is something I've been wanting to do for a little while. We finally got Dar's schedule, because normally he would be up in the air or coming back from being up in the air, on a Friday night. So we grabbed him for tonight, and we're very fortunate to have Dar. So we're going to just turn it right over to you, and let you take it from there.
Awesome. Can everybody hear me all right with this? Do I need to talk louder? Or? All right, I'm Dora Farzad. Glad everyone could come out this evening. This is great. Love seeing faces. So I'm a hot air balloon pilot. Has anyone been up in a hot air balloon? Oh, look at that. You guys don't count. So yeah, I'm Drew's neighbor. Asked me to do this. I'm really excited to do a quick a small presentation on hot air ballooning. My parents are back there. They got me involved in this, so blame them for the whole balloon thing. All right. So I own and operate Southern Tier Balloon Tours. Here are pictures of some of our balloons. We fly out of Ithaca, New York, Binghamton, New York, Owego, New York. Most of our flights are Finger Lakes and Ithaca, New York. We do about 100, 125 flights a year. One of our crew members is actually here, Josh. He's got the hat on there. Helps crew on the balloon. We have 4 balloons, like I was saying. Red, white, and blue balloon there. Same, buddy. Red, white, and blue balloon there is called Captain America. The burgundy one next to it is Ron Burgundy. The middle one there is our newest balloon. We call that the Orb of Osavox. Anyone know what that's from? Someone? Anybody? Ready Player One, come on. And the one on the right we call 99 for 99 red balloons. So those are our 4 balloons in our fleet. Check us out on our website, Instagram handles up there. Give us a like, follow. Always like being tagged in pictures if you see us flying around. So send them to us, email us, tag us, and we'll definitely repost. All right, how the heck did I get into this? So I'm 39. I'm going to be 40 in June, by the way. It's kind of scary. I started my addiction to hot air ballooning around 3 years old. So grew up on Stuyvesant Street in downtown Binghamton. Anyone familiar with that? Where that is? I don't think our house isn't there anymore. So grew up on Stuyvesant Street, and every nice summer day, even in the fall and in the spring, I would see balloons flying, and I started picking up on nice weather hot air balloons were flying. So I'd pester my parents to bring me to Otsego Park, because if there was good weather, there was generally a hot air balloon flying. So I'd see these balloons flying from our backyard in Otsego Park, or I'd get driven to Otsego Park and watch the balloons take off. The more I saw balloons, the more I wanted to see balloons. It was really weird. I was completely hooked. You have this big bag of air that's heated with a flamethrower. It's colorful. It's huge. It's just something that draws your attention, especially as a child. So I got really excited every time I saw a balloon. Started crewing as I got a little older. I thought I was helping out, but I think I was causing more of a disturbance. I would just run around, touch things. Pilots would yell at me, say, "Get out of the way." But I thought I was helping, and I definitely learned a lot. And every pilot that I interacted with was very nice and gave me as much information as they could in regards to balloons. But whenever I was causing kind of a safety concern, they would get out of here. So I got my pilot certificate when I was 19, and I did that down in Pennsylvania. A bunch of friends and myself, we would just take a balloon out and learn to fly. We'd just go take a flight in the morning, a flight in the evening. Whenever the weather was nice, we'd go out flying, and we just hammered out hours. And I'll get into what it takes to become a private commercial pilot a little further down the presentation. Got my commercial rating when I was 21, and I also started flying for a company down in Pennsylvania called U.S. Hot Air Balloon Team. No affiliation with the country. They just call themselves U.S. Hot Air Balloon Team. And I built my hours flying equipment down there. So most people think of a balloon as flying like 2 to 3 people, maybe 4 people. These balloons we were flying flew about 8, 10 people comfortably. And I thought I knew how to fly because I was young and like, hey, I can do everything. And I started working for them, and then I had to relearn how to fly. Business flying and for fun flying are 2 different things completely. And I started to learn how to commercially fly, and it's a whole different ballgame, but I learned a lot. I started Southern Tier Balloon Tours in 2010. We just call it STB. I thought if I started a balloon company, it'll pay for my addiction to be around hot air balloons. And that's cool. Why wouldn't I want to get paid to do what I love? Never thought about, like, I need to save money. These things are expensive. What's insurance? Pretty much all the things you wouldn't think about started creeping up as I ran this business. Again, 100% my parents' fault that I'm involved in this. First balloon ever that we got, my parents bought it for me. It was a Galaxy Balloon RX-7. I don't even remember what I named it, but that's a 1990 Galaxy. Had a square basket, even though there's a triangle one under it. It actually was supposed to be flown with a square basket. Could fly like 2 to 3 people. I think we bought it for like $3,500. And then I never flew it. College happened, and life happened, and I didn't care about ballooning for a phase of my life, and it just sat in a bag. But that was the first balloon that ever. What's that? Okay, we paid $5,000 for it. My parents paid $5,000 for it. I didn't pay anything for it. But the end number for that. So every aircraft has a identifier. And I remember this end number. I'll remember for the rest of my life. It's 5354 Yankee. So that was if you called the tower or if you were in controlled airspace, you'd have to call in with your identifier. And this one was 5354 Yankee. Oh, I hope I'm not going through these slides too fast. All right, a little history on ballooning. Instead of putting everything down, I figure I'd just go through it. So hot air balloons were developed in France in the late 1700s, 1783 to be exact. What happened was the scientists saw that smoke was rising, and they thought, well, if we can catch this smoke, maybe we can go and fly as the smoke is. So they developed this big, colorful hot air balloon. Well, this big balloon, they know it was a hot air balloon at the time, and they thought it was smoke that was making them rise. So they put this cauldron under the balloon, and they filled it up with anything they could to make smoke, because they wanted as much smoke as possible to create lift and to be caught so they could go flying. The way the story goes is the first passengers were a rooster, a duck, and like a sheep or something, because no one knew if you could breathe above the height of the tree. So like, let's put them up there and see what happens. And then it was developed by the Montgolfier brothers. And they were actually, I don't believe they were the first ones to fly. Pierre de Rozier was the first person to fly. And he actually died also on the balloon flight. So first to fly and first to kick the bucket. All right, quick trivia. We carry champagne on board. Does anyone know why? Oh, hold on. No one I know that's crude for me can answer this.
Because you don't know where you're going to land, and you use the bottled wine to make a friend of the owner.
Partially right. Anyone else? No one else? All right, how about someone that kind of know? Oh, wait, we're in the back.
When I flew and landed in somebody's yard, they wouldn't come help me hold it up. So the champagne was there.
Yeah, so you guys are both kind of right. So the way the folktale goes is when these balloons were developed, again, the late 1700s, 1783, no one had ever seen anything fly before. So you have this big bag of air that's burping smoke and fire, and people thought it was a dragon. So this thing's floating around. It goes wherever it wants. You can't control this thing. Comes and crashes into a farm field, and everything catches fire. So farmer comes up, is like, what are you doing here? Thought everybody was aliens on board, because obviously aliens came from the sky. So he held them hostage. The King of France had to come and kind of release everybody, and they're like, hey, we need to do that again. So when they did it again, they're like, how can we prove we're human? Well, that area of France, the Champagne area of France, was the only area that they thought that had champagne or bubbly, sparkling wine. So they carried a bottle of champagne with them, and when they landed, same thing happened. And the guy's like, yeah, you burned up my field. He's like, hey, yeah, but we got champagne. We're Frenchmen. Got the guy drunk, and everything was good. So that's why we carry champagne on board. But mostly now to say thank you to the landowners. We do just float around. We don't know where we're going to land. And we want to make sure everybody is happy when we have this big piece of equipment on their farm field. We're not taking out crops. We're not landing in like cornfields. We're landing in like cut alfalfa, grass, things that are very accessible. Every now and then we might take out some soybean, but it's not that big of a deal. All right, some different types of balloons. So These all kind of look the same, right? Can anyone spot any differences between the 6 balloons other than the color? Anyone? What do you got for me?
Well, they're in different places.
Oh, that's good, yep. So with the balloons themselves, does anything about them look different other than the colors?
The shape.
Shape, yeah, a little bit of the shape. Anything else?
The pieces.
Very good, the cuts. So those are called gores or panels. And a lot of these are cut differently. Anything else? No? All right, so we'll start in the top left corner and we'll work our way around clockwise. So the top left one there, that's called a Kubitschek balloon. They're manufactured in the Czech Republic. They are made out of polyester. They're the only balloon manufacturer that produces balloons right now that uses polyester. Everyone else uses nylon. So you can do, those are called diagonal cuts. See how it kind of looks like a diagonal? Everything else is kind of a square cut. You can make a balloon as big as you want, as colorful as you want. They also do digital print. So if you want to put anything on your balloon, they can screen print it. And they have a system that'll cut out the panel exactly how you want and make whatever image you want. So the diagonals, those are panels. And then in a full line, it creates a gore. That balloon to the top left is a BB30Z, is the designator by Kubitschek. So that means it's about 90,000 cubic feet, carries about 3-4 people on a 70-degree day with low humidity. And other than that, pretty much similar to all the other balloons, but its big thing is it's got diagonal cuts. And they do square cuts too, but that screen printing process makes it really, really cool. Balloon to the right of that is a Lindstrand. Those are made in America, in Indiana, Galena, Indiana. They don't do diagonal. They can do diagonal cuts, but they generally don't. They kind of look like that picture there. You get any color you want. They have generally around 24 to 28 gores, so a few more gores than that Kubitschek, so it makes it look a little more rounded. The diagonal cuts make it look a little more pointy, like almost like an oval shape. Lindstrands, that's probably a 77,000 cubic foot balloon, so like 2 people. If you recall that red balloon we saw earlier in the slide when we said we had 4 balloons, the balloon to the top left corner and that red balloon are the same size, just to put that into perspective. Balloon to the right is an Ultra Magic. They are made in Europe. I should know what country, but I forgot right now, and I've practiced this. They're made in Spain. That's where they're made. So they're made in Spain, and they are also made in Mexico. So they have another company, like a subsidiary, that produces them in Mexico for the United States and for Canada. They have more of a flat look to them, so the gores are smooth. That's a 24 gore balloon. You can do the same thing as the other 2, as colorful as you want. You can see at the top there, kind of protrudes out a little bit. That's the parachute top. And on those, for some reason, it always protrudes out a little bit, and it makes it look a little weird to me. I don't know. I personally, it's not one of my favorite designs. It looks a little too ovally for me. But they make good balloons. A lot of people love them. Bottom left corner is an Aerostar. They do not make balloons anymore. They were based in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. They still make gas or weather balloons. So what Drew was speaking of earlier, where they release a balloon with some stuff on it, and for tracking device go up to 100,000 feet. Aerostar makes balloons like that, but in a much larger scale. They do defense. They make, I believe they do some airship stuff also. There's a cruise missile defense system that was set up around Washington, D.C. I think they manufactured that. But they used to make hot air balloons, and then in 2006 they stopped, which kind of stunk because they made great hot air balloons. So those 3 on the top all have gores and those square cuts or diagonal cuts. Aerostar was the only company that did a different type of cut. Can anybody see the difference with that balloon versus the other 3 on how it looks different? So that's
It's much longer.
yeah, so that's an RX7 is what it's called. What they figured out is you get this roll of fabric, about the height of that tank over there, and they figured to save fabric, why don't we just unroll it, make that one gore, and then we'll fill in the other area with kind of like a diamond. So the colored areas there are the rollout, and then you see the black sections kind of look like they're sewn together. So the rollout area is flat, and the kind of diamond pointy section is where they bring it together. And that was limited to a certain size because you can only get a roll of fabric so long. So the biggest balloon they could make is 126,000 cubic feet. To put that into perspective, the balloon to the right of that, which is a Cameron, is 315,000 cubic feet. So it's about 2.5 times bigger. So that Aerostar can hold like 3 people. That Cameron balloon, the Orb of Osavox, that's our newest balloon. Any guesses on how much? It's 315,000 cubic feet. How many people it can hold?
16.
Thanks, Mom. Hold 16 people. So has a gross lift of 6,300 pounds. If as long as it's about 70 degrees or cooler, it can lift about 6,300 pounds. So we generally fly about 14, 15 people in it. Flies exactly the same as these other balloons that you see on here. It's definitely on the larger side. It just goes up slower and comes down faster. That's really the biggest thing, and you need 3 times the area to land it. So this balloon on the bottom right is from a manufacturer called Schroeder Fire. They're built in Germany, and we actually can't get them in the United States because they didn't apply for a type certificate through the feds. They're no different than the other balloons. They probably just didn't want to go through the paperwork, but they make cool balloons, so I figured I'd put it up there. And like this digital art you put on there, Cameron, Ultra Magic, Lindstrand, Kubitschek, they can all do it. But I just thought that was I thought it was very German to have a ram on a hot air balloon, and they're from Germany. So, any questions on the different balloons, manufacturers? No one?
What's your favorite?
Definitely not the Cameron. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. The Cameron or the Aerostar are probably my 2 favorite. Anyone else favorites? Kids? No? So fun fact, the Cameron, the Orb of Osavox, was actually designed by Dylan right here. So he did all the color work for it. See, no one likes you. Hey! All right, do you need a license certificate to fly these things? What do you guys think? No. Of course you do. Come on, what's wrong with you? All right, I know it's a lot of reading. It's probably boring, but so private pilot requirements. Yes, you need a certificate to fly these things. There's a process you go through. You apply for a student certificate. Anybody in this room can get a student certificate. I think it's like $5, or it used to be $5 when I did it. You just apply, put all your information down, and they mail you this cool plastic card. I don't have my wallet on me. This cool green plastic card, and it says United States of America on it. It's got the Wright brothers on it, and it says student certificate. So how do you get a private pilot certificate for? This is only for hot air balloons, all right? This does not apply to fixed wing helicopters. They have their own process. Balloons are considered some of the simplest aircraft to learn to fly, but really tough to master. So you have to be able to read, speak, and understand English. I think we can all do that. Do not need a medical certificate. You do for a commercial, but not for a private. You have to pass a written test that covers a lot of stuff. Weather, who has right-of-way when you're in the air and planes are coming around, which is always us, but we still need to do that. Unless you're an aircraft in distress, so if there's an airplane that's calling an emergency, they have right-of-way over us. So you need to know all that. And it's about, I think it's 200 questions. Multiple choice. They ask you some weather questions. They ask you some airspace questions. For example, there's A, B, C, D, and E airspace. Anyone know the difference between those? Does anyone know what airspace looks like? No? Think of like an
Where you are vertically and how close to an airport.
Yes. And it's done via an upside-down cake. So our closest airport is Binghamton. Beautiful airport, by the way. I've landed there many times. It's got 2 pieces of a cake. It's got a bottom section. I'm sorry, it's got 1 piece of a cake. It's got just the bottom section. It's Class D airspace. If you go to the center of that runway, out 5 miles, all the way around, that is their airspace up to 4,000 feet above sea level. Not above ground level, above sea level. They're at about 1,700 feet above sea level to start. So they have about 2,300 feet that they play with That's their airspace. So that's Class D airspace. You go up to Syracuse, you got that 5-mile ring, and then you got another one that's 10 miles, and that's Class C airspace. So we can fly into any of those. We just have to maintain radio communication. But that is all on the test, so they make sure you know what you're doing once you get your private certificate. You need to do some ground handling, inflation, pre-checks, takeoffs and landings, takeoffs and ascents, emergency conditions. What do you think would be some emergency situations for a hot air balloon? Well, we don't fly in that, but yeah, that'd definitely be an emergency. Yeah, similar. You get some freaky weather. When they're talking about emergency situations, though weather does play a big role, they're generally speaking about an on-board emergency. So maybe you have a fuel failure, maybe a line ruptured, maybe your propane burner is stuck on. How do you turn it off if it's stuck on and you're just going up? How do I stop this thing? Shut the tank off. That's what you do. But so you need to know all these things, and you go through that with your student and teach them how to set up the balloon, how to get it inflated, how to get it airborne, what landing spots look good, what landing spots don't look good. We always aim for big cut hay fields, cul-de-sacs. In fact, Drew and I's neighborhood, if I was flying over that and the wind was calm, I'd land right in front of my house. I'm going to do that one day, by the way. But cut hay fields are the best because we have to retrieve all this equipment. We can't steer. We're just going with the wind. So wherever the wind goes, that's where we're going. And if we're going towards an area that we can't retrieve the balloon, it makes for a really long night, which does happen sometimes. Sometimes we land in a big farm field and the farmer says, you know, I don't want your vehicles on here. The ground is soft. I don't like hot air balloons, which I don't know why you wouldn't. So sometimes you have to get all that equipment and carry it out. So you need 10 hours for a private certificate. All you need is 10 total hours of flight time. 6 of those hours have to be instruction. So if I was instructing someone, they need 6 hours of flight time. That can be in one flight, 6 flights, doesn't matter. But you need 2 instructional flights prior to your test of, I think, at least 30 minutes or at least an hour. And one of those has to be up to 3,000 feet to get an idea of what it takes to get some altitude to see what different winds do at different levels. So that's all for private pilot requirements. Any questions on that? All right, let's go commercial. A lot of the same stuff, plus you need 35 hours of flight time. 20 has to be in balloons. So that means if you fly an airplane or a helicopter, you can transfer over your hours because they consider that harder than flying a hot air balloon. If you know how to fly a helicopter, 25 of those hours can be transferred over to a hot air balloon. So that means you only need 20 hours in a balloon to get straight to commercial rating. Need 6 instructional flights, 2 solo flights. That means I sign you off and off you go. Good luck, buddy. 2 flights in duration up to 5,000 feet. So taking that altitude a little higher. Again, different altitudes, different wind. So we want to make sure the student gets up to different altitudes to see what winds are doing at different altitudes so that you can kind of steer the balloon. You can't steer, but you can get different directions. Any commercial questions? Anyone commercially rated in a balloon can instruct people to become commercially rated also. So if anybody wants to learn how to fly, I can teach you for a price. Cool balloon, right? Yes. Second balloon, that's Ron Burgundy, also an Aerostar. That's Stewart Park in Ithaca we were taking off from. All right, weather and flight planning. Very important. All right, optimal weather for hot air balloons varies for pilot in your flying area. What I think is comfortable in a good flying area, another pilot might not think. If I go and travel to Montana and a pilot there is flying that area consistently, I've never flown there before, I don't know what it's like. So I may not be comfortable flying with conditions that they think are good to fly in. Same if they came to my flying area and took off and saw a 38-mile lake. Like, wait, you fly over that? Yes, we do. Our favorite conditions to fly are partly cloudy skies. So about 2/8 to 3/8 of the sky is covered. That's what's considered partly cloudy. Mostly cloudy, 4/8, half to 5/6, and then overcast is 7/8 to full coverage. We like around 5 knots on the ground. Anyone know what that is in miles per hour? No one? Does anyone know the conversion of knots to miles per hour? Toby? No?
Mile and a quarter.
Close. Anyone else? 12. You're way off. 9. 1 knot is 1.15 miles an hour. So 5 knots about 5.5 miles an hour. So we like about 5 knots on the ground, and then winds aloft, so anything above the trees up to 4,000 or 5,000 feet, we like 13 to 18 knots. I know it's a pretty specific range. We'll fly in a lot more than that, but that's what we'd like. That's our most favorable conditions. So that way, nice and slow on the ground, we can say hi to all our neighbors that we're flying over, and then up at altitude, we can get some speed. And say we have a big forest that we have to fly over that's like 5 miles long. We want some speed to get across those, because if we have about an hour and a half of fuel and we're going 15 miles an hour, so it takes about 10, 15 minutes to get over that forest. Don't want any rain or thunderstorm activity in the vicinity. I like about 30 miles. That's variable. The book says more, but I'm comfortable with that. Fly in the winter also. Bundle up. It's fun. It's cold. But you see the whole earth in a whole different perspective. No leaves on the trees. You can see straight to the forest floor. You see a lot of animals. You see what's in everyone's backyard. It's really cool. All right. Winds that go in different directions at different altitudes. Is this true, and how do you know? That's from Jarrett Newby. Texted me that. I'm like, I'm putting in the presentation. All right, so different altitudes generally have different winds. Predominantly in the Finger Lakes area where we fly, the wind tends to come out of the northwest, west, northwest, northwest. It also comes out of the south a lot. So when you have a system coming in, so you have high and low pressure, does anyone know what way low pressure spins and what way high pressure spins? Bingo. Low spins counterclockwise, high pressure spins clockwise. So when you have an exiting high pressure or an incoming low pressure, you tend to get these south winds, which are great to fly in Ithaca. We take off on the southern part of the lake, right at ground level. We'll go right up towards the lake, get some altitude, and you can get a change in direction so you can get to either side of the lake. And that happens because of the pressure difference from what's moving in and what's moving out. So at different altitudes, we get different currents in different directions. How do I know? I just check the weather. Now, I've flown there so many times, I kind of get an idea of what it's going to be like, but you have to check flight service, go online. I check weather.com just like everybody else. Go to NOAA, check out any website I can for information. All right, sky above you is like an ocean of currents. Changes consistently depending on how much heating and cooling is happening. That's very predominant for surface level stuff. As you get higher, that's more predominant dependent on what pressure system is moving in and out. You got cold fronts, warm fronts. Cold fronts bring a lot of speed and obviously cool air. Warm fronts can bring speed, but obviously warmer air and are generally a little more stable. So get our information from various sources. Ithaca Airport, Syracuse Airport, Binghamton, Scranton, Wilkes-Barre. We'll call all of them up, check online. Generally, we're going online. I'll only call them if I need very specific information, and they'll give us everything they got. Already said, all right, we get all this information from websites. Does anyone? Where does everyone go on for weather? Apple weather? No? Apple Maps? Yeah. Don't use that. It's trash. Wonderground is good. Wonderground is really, really good. Optimal times for flying are sunrise and a couple hours prior to sunset. This is because right at sunrise, the Earth is kind of just waking up, so everything's nice and stable. You get calm weather, calm wind, and you get this gorgeous sunrise, which if you take off early enough in Ithaca, you can fly nice and low, get some altitude, you get your sunrise. If you do it quick enough, you can descend back down into the valley and you get a second sunrise because the sun then comes up over the hill. So if we take off early enough in Ithaca, you can always get 2 sunrises. Sunset, we try to do 2.5 hours before because, again, everything's cooling off. You get that calmer wind, stable conditions, and we try to take off a couple hours prior to that. But we have to be on the ground before sunset. It's no fun flying in the dark unless you have proper equipment or you plan for it. You want to see where you're going. You want to make sure the crew can pack everything away while they see stuff. We've had some late flights where we're landing in the dark. It's no fun. Any questions on weather and flight planning? All right. Cool shot from last summer flying the Finger Lakes. So we're on the east side of the lake. That's Cayuga Lake, sunset to the west. That protrusion on the left side, does anyone know what that is on Cayuga Lake? That's Tacanic State Park. So that gorge goes all the way up into the hill there. And on the right side is Myers Point. This is Salt Point right here. All the salt for the roads that rust your car come right there. So we take off generally a little south of that, but we're on the east side right now starting to look for a spot to land. Cool picture, right? All right, gas balloons. Not a hot air balloon, still a balloon though. They're used in the Civil War by the North and South for aerial spotting, reconnaissance, artillery to see who had what where. Hydrogen helium powered. They don't blow up like the Hindenburg. I know everyone's thinking that. Does anyone know why the Hindenburg went up in flames? It wasn't the hydrogen. It was the paint. It was the metallic paint. So if you had helium in there, the same thing would have happened. Gas balloons can fly for days. They are generally helium, hydrogen. They can hold the air. They're made with a stronger latex, so they can hold the air really tightly. So they're completely different than hot air balloons. Hot air balloons are made out of. So our balloon Orvosavox is made out of this stuff right here. It's called hyperlast nylon. We pass this around so it feels like. Cut a hole in one so you can try to pull it apart. If you pull hard enough, it'll pull apart to give you an idea of how strong it is, though. So I'm going to pass that around. It's very slippery. So new hot air balloons are made out of that. I meant to pass that out earlier, but I forgot. I apologize. Give you an idea of what the aircraft's made out of. So they can fly for days. Everyone asks, well, how do you descend in a gas balloon if it's kind of all sealed? So there's actually a valve at the top that they can release some hydrogen and helium, and it'll help them descend. And it naturally cools and heats during what time of day it's flying, and it'll kind of do this. They don't carry sandbags. They carry water bags. And if they want to get altitude, say they're coming down to descend, they let some helium out, pull this valve, helium comes out of the top. When they come in to descend, if they're like, oh, we don't want to do that, they drop a bunch of water off the sides, and then they'll go back up. Also, if you're on board for a long flight, if you have to go to the bathroom, you have to store it, because if you get rid of it, you'll change your altitude. It's from 1862. This is the North inflating a gas balloon for reconnaissance. This is another one. Yeah. So that balloon could carry, it's called the Intrepid. It was in Chandley, Virginia. It could carry 5 people for reconnaissance. All right, some dangers. I was going to put up pictures of like bad things. I thought that'd be a bad idea, so we'll just go through it real quick. Power lines are no good. Thermals are rising bodies of air created from the heating of the surface. You don't want to fly in those because it messes with your trajectory. Thunderstorms, bad weather, poor flight planning. Those are all bad for ballooning. A lot of this stuff happens with pilot error. Yeah. Pilot impairment. So there was a bad accident in Texas. 16 people died. It was a big balloon carrying 15 people. They had broken the rules of what was legal to fly. They flew through a low-level fog layer. Pilot took off, went through the fog layer. It was beautiful on top. When he came down to descend, he couldn't see anything, and he went right into one of those big boy power lines and just killed everybody. So that's the worst accident that's ever happened. But he broke the rules of what's safe to fly in. So the rules are already in place to stop that from happening. He just didn't follow them. Target fixation is where you're flying. You're like, I'm going to land there. Okay, I'm going to land there. Okay, I still haven't gotten there, but I'm going to land there. And then you use up all your fuel, and you're nowhere near where you want to land. And now you have to start your whole flight, your landing process all over again with minimal fuel. So that's a thing you have to watch out for. Macho is a syndrome where, as a pilot, you think you're invincible. Like, I can do whatever I want. I know you probably think I feel that way, but I swear I'm really good about making sure everything's going to T. I don't know why. Every time I fly in Ithaca, there's a stupid tractor in the way, and it's always right where I want to land. So definitely a little danger there. All right, I think next I have a video that some friends put together a couple years ago. I don't know if any of you guys have seen this. I think maybe a couple. It's about 15 minutes long, gives a good brief on everything we just talked about, and it's pretty entertaining. See if it works. Oh, no, it didn't. Come on, buddy. What if I go back? Let's do this. All right, no one look at my computer. Where are you at here?
Seems like we lost the video. It's like it's not in there.
Yeah, I know, right? But we can insert it again.
So go back to insert video. Movie.
Boop.
And where is it? That's it.
Yes.
Sure.
Automatically. Thanks for bearing with us here.
Okay, then you want to do slideshow from current.
There we go. All right.
Hey Brian, how are you? This is Dar with Southern Tier Balloon Tours. Going well. So we got your reservation for the evening flight. I was just checking out weather, and it actually looks like we got some thunderstorms moving in. But unfortunately, we can't fly when there's convective activity. And I'm looking at radar right now. We got storms materializing to the west, and they're going to be getting here probably soon. And you don't want to be in the air while that's happening. But in saying that, tomorrow's weather doesn't look good, and then we don't have Thursday to Monday available. So I can reschedule you to the following week, or we can cancel everything, whatever works best for you, essentially.
So my name is Dariush Farzad, and I'm the owner-operator of Southern Tier Balloon Tours, and we operate out of the Finger Lakes area in Ithaca, New York. I was definitely a terrible student. High school, college. I had no drive for what I was being taught or where I was in class. I just didn't care. Kind of the same with college, which was weird because in college you choose the classes you want to take so that you can better yourself for whatever career you're pursuing, but I didn't know what I wanted to pursue. I just knew I loved hot air ballooning, and I knew I wanted to fly. Again, I didn't know what I wanted to do for a career, and flying for a career didn't really happen yet. And what made me stick with ballooning was fairly young. I'd say 2, 3, maybe 4 years old. I saw a hot air balloon at a local park. My mom and dad had brought me there, and I was so enamored with the whole process of how this thing came to life. And it's in this bag. There's this big basket that looks like it's woven together. I don't know, I'm a kid. But as you put it together, it's alive, and you get so enamored with everything and the beauty of the balloon and the colors, and that it's alive through fire. You know, this fire makes it come upright and live, essentially. And I just got hooked on that at a really young age. And the more I saw it, the more my parents would bring me, and the more I would get hooked. And I then started to realize I want to be a pilot. And, you know, I never knew what it took to be a pilot. I was just like, I want to fly one of these things because they're cool. The flying itself I didn't even care about. I just wanted to be around a hot air balloon, and I thought you had to be a pilot to do that. Difficulties day to day with getting certified, you know, learning the ropes. It takes a lot of money, one, and when you're in your late teens, mid-teens, even early 20s, I mean, I had no money. I could barely afford to you know, go out to grab a beer with some friends or do anything. I remember specifically saying to one friend, he had asked me to just like grab a coffee. I'm like, dude, I have no money. I mean, I literally have $0.
And, you know, I'm trying to get a balloon certificate, and any money I had would go towards trying to learn how to fly. You know, I gave up a lot of my summers. People would be out partying on summer nights. And I'd be going to bed early and waking up early and trying to get these 2-hour flights in so that I got the sufficient number of hours in to become a pilot. And anybody can do it. It's just, you know, are you going to put the time in, put the work in? Then you got to do some book work, which I'm never good at.
So you guys are like, I think the 5th group to fly in this basket. So we got it in late September last year. It's pretty much brand new.
So the bottom's not going to fall out on
I hope not.
Okay.
You can take a look at it if you want.
I'm glad I was put through the ringer with all that, just like every other pilot. You know, I'm not special in that regard. Everybody is put through that regardless of what aircraft you're flying. But it's a lot of work, and, you know, it's definitely a lot of fun now, and I definitely love to share that joy with everybody I can.
We scared of a little rain?
Barely see it.
I feel like I could say anything right now. I'd be like, dinner's at 5. Oh my God. I can't do this. All right. So again, my name's Dar. We got Dom, Josh, who'll be taking care of us. So again, be nice to them, because if you're not nice to them, they're not going to pick us up.
With ballooning, you know, there can obviously be hazards and other things if you don't take necessary precautions. And, you know, some flights are windier and, I don't want to say less safe, but can be dangerous if you don't instruct people on what to do on that takeoff.
I was hoping, I figured if we sat here and waited, the wind would kind of calm off, but it's kind of still doing its thing.
So we break down everything, we move everything, and the wind picks up, which is not in the forecast. Like, it was supposed to be a nice calm day. I mean, the wind picks up, like, this is odd. We start inflating, balloon's rocking all over the place. Now, I've briefed the passengers. Crew already knows what to do. I've briefed everybody on what could happen. So they're ready for this windy possibility. I even said, I'm like, hey, when you get in the basket, it might be rocking from side to side. You might be able to touch the ground. Keep your body parts in, don't touch the ground. It's gonna be aggressive. Well, I didn't know it was gonna be this aggressive.
So we had the balloon set up one way because the wind was coming kind of out of the south-southeast. And as we were sitting here, we have a wind shift, and it's coming out of the south-southwest now. And a balloon is a big sail. So the way we're positioned, it would be the aircraft would be perpendicular to the wind, and we would just never get it upright. It would probably roll right into these trees over here. So we're taking everything down, we're gonna put it back in the truck and trailer. We're just gonna move it over there so we're positioned correctly, and then we'll set everything up again and should be good to go.
Myself and a crew member of ours, his name's Dom, we had already set everything up. We had plenty of time, but we had already set everything up, and I looked at him like, Dom, I hate to do this, we've got to start all over. So he looked at me, he's like, I really don't want to, but if he's saying we have to do it, we have to do it. We're inflating, balloons rocking all over the place. We put heat into it, it comes up. If my hand's the balloon, it's just boom, 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 just rocking all over the place. I try not to lose my composure. I always stay as calm, cool, collect as possible. It's like, all right, have you get in, all right, you get in quicker, faster. Okay, we need you to get in, we need you to get in.
It's gonna rock and roll a bit, nothing to worry about. Just stay in that basket. Watch out, guys.
So like it was just a centralized valley of wind, or centralized area of wind where it must have got compressed through the valley. And I mean, when we took off, we were going about 16 knots as soon as we took off. I was like, Jesus. But when we got where everything dispersed, probably 3 or 4 knots, and then we landed probably at 5 knots. Nice, easy flight, but that's just some of the universe on those flights saying, we're not gonna make it that easy today. And luckily the fan didn't get damaged, that was good. Obviously everybody loved the flight. They said they were a little worried at first getting in, but you know, that the instruction was good, and that's why everything worked out. So definitely we all patted ourselves on the back for that, but it definitely was a little more exciting than I was anticipating for that evening.
Hold the line out. Yay! I didn't want it to hit the truck.
Have fun.
The morning flights were meeting right around sunrise, so this time of year it's about 6 a.m. Since we meet so early for those morning flights, getting up real early, like 4:15, 4 o'clock, checking weather, the crew and myself will get the balloon set up, ready to go. And there's normally 1, 2, maybe 3 crew, depending on what balloon we're flying. We'll get the balloon set up, brief the passengers again on what to expect, and then get that balloon upright, ready for the passengers to get in. Sometimes we have to nitrogen our propane tanks, which just adds pressure to the tank so that we have good fuel economy. Every season has a unique thing about it. April, May, maybe even some flights in March, but March, April, May, early June, get that forest floor, and then June, July, August, early September, you have that lush green, you know, those humid, hot days. For a person like me, or anybody who has a lot of energy, and then being in the air and experiencing the calmness, the serenity, you know, the peacefulness, it's actually a little bit of a battle. It's hard for me to be up there and just relax. I do relax, but it's a consistent battle of a type A personality versus having to be very patient.
Hey guys, should go right. I think safe bet you go right. The fuel's up here, maybe the parking lot.
So you'll be in the air and you have this go, 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 but ballooning isn't go, go, go. It's slow, slow, slow. And the thing does whatever it wants. Mother Nature always does what it wants, so you have to be very, very patient. You have to teach yourself or condition yourself to be calm, patient, and let everything materialize. Now, as soon as you land, it's a different story. Now you can get the go, 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 and get the balloon packed up, and get the toast going, and have the crew move stuff around the way you want. But in the air, being forced to be calmed, you know, peaceful and all that, it's nice, and I love it. And I can only take so much of that, though, just like anything else. So I do get to a point where I'm like, I'm good. I need to be loud and go, go, go again. But it's a fun balance.
That's how you do it, baby. That's how you do it. The winds have welcomed you with softness. The sun has kissed you with her warm lips. You have flown so high and so well that God has joined you in your laughter. And taken back down the loving arms of Mother Earth. Salute, guys. Thanks for flying with us.
Thank you.
And any special occasions just for fun for everybody?
Just fun. Yeah.
Really? Well, happy birthday.
Yeah.
So giving someone a first-time experience or putting that smile on their face, it really makes me feel happy also. I know I'm doing it right. I know our crew's doing it right. And again, it's not just me. This is a team effort. Like, I know a lot of it's about me and Dar and Southern Tier Balloon Tours, but it's not just me. There's so many people behind the scenes that make this happen. I mean, sponsors included. You know, we have Visions as a sponsor, Earhart Energy, Midstate Basement. I mean, all these places help out to put these smiles on everybody's face. And I mean, we'll be flying by, people will send me pictures like, hey, I saw the Earhart balloon today, or hey, I saw the Visions balloon today. And people that work there are like, hey, I work there. Hey, I work for Midstate. Like, your balloon flew over the house today. You know, kids obviously don't know anything about sponsorships, but the kids love just seeing the balloon, being able to touch stuff. And I am big on, yeah, you can touch that. Yeah, you can play that. You know, just don't touch the fuel lines. And seeing them be happy, I get some nostalgia of like how I used to be with that. And every pilot when I was younger let me do all those things. I got yelled at a couple times, only for safety reasons, not because anyone was mean. And I understand that now, but I want to be able to provide that when when we're approached by children and families. Otherwise, what's the point? When I was a kid and balloons would land, that was like my favorite thing. If they would just do that, like do a couple up and downs with the balloon there. So whenever I have the opportunity to do that, I feel like I have to like, give back in that regard.
Keep coming.
Lined up good?
Yep, keep coming. Keep coming. You got about 4 feet.
And then the last thing we like to say is if you enjoyed your ride, certainly feel free to tip your guide. So thanks for flying with us. We got plenty of beverages, except water. We're running a little low on water, which never happens. And then we'll take care of everybody's payment, and then we'll get on out of here. Thanks for flying with us.
Thank you.
If someone has a dream or is told, they shouldn't do this, man, just stay with it. It's all about you in that. Don't take crap from anyone. Do what you want to do. If it feels right to you, then do it. Everybody in this world is so judgmental about what other people are doing. You're probably gonna fail. I mean, I failed at ballooning numerous times. But you figure it out, and if you put the hard work in, it will work. If you refuse to fail, it will work. Do what's best for you and stay true to yourself.
How everyone else doing that I didn't say hi to? Everyone excited? Anyone scared? Just me? All right.
Great evening.
You guys had nothing to worry about because last time we flew, we prayed, had you guys covered, but we got to keep the trend going, all right? So here we are. The winds have welcomed with softness. The sun has kissed you with her warm lips. You have flown so high and so well that God has joined you in your laughter. And set you back down in the loving arms of Mother Earth. Thanks for flying with us. Happy birthday and happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, guys.
I think that's pretty much it. What do you guys think?
So what we're going to do is, if you have a question, I just raise your hand. I'll bring the mic over because I'd like the people on the live stream to hear it as well. So we got your first question right here.
All right.
So I'm going to do my Phil Donahue thing, dating myself.
How do you keep from burning your balloon up or melting it?
Shoot in the middle.
Ah, okay.
So the fans inflate the balloon, get it nice and big, and when it's nice and big, we're just putting the flame right in the middle. But if the flamethrower goes to the side, it'll melt some fabric. The bottom layer is made out of Nomex. It's a fire retardant material. It'll just discolor, but it won't. Nothing will catch fire. It just disappears. So, but you just shoot in the middle. Just don't hit the fabric.
It seems like I've seen initially when you're first starting to blow it up, you just take a regular fan, or is that just?
Yeah. So we use a gas-powered fan. They use it in firefighting for positive pressure to get on a doorway, and these fans push like 3,000 CFM or 30,000 CFM. I can't remember the number, but they move a lot of air. They're like a 13 horsepower motor, and that's what you see inflate the balloon to start that initial flamethrower in the middle.
All right. Any other questions here? I know we have a question from the live stream, so
all right.
We're going to take this over here to Jeremy. Go ahead.
All right. Only in Antarctica is their name. And they ask, what is the highest altitude a hot air balloon can ascend to?
So the highest a balloon has been recorded to, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was 63,000 feet or 68,000 feet. It was this massive balloon, bigger than our the Orb of Osavox, loaded with fuel. He had oxygen mask on, everything, and they were going for an altitude record. On average, we are flying from treetop height to a couple thousand feet. Legally, we can't fly higher than 17,999 feet, because above that is Class A airspace, and only commercial jet traffic can go that high. But we're rarely going higher than like 5,000 or 6,000 feet. All right,
we got a question here, so give me a second.
Where's the farthest you ever flown?
The farthest I've ever flown? Not too far, probably like 20, 25 miles. So there's a lot of pilots out there that have flown further than I have, but generally we're only flying about 6 to 10 miles because we want that calm wind on the ground of like 5 knots. So if we have 5 or 6 knots on the ground and we're flying for an hour, we generally only go about 6 miles. So, but on average 6 to 10 miles if you take the upper winds into account.
All right, any other questions here?
Oh, come on.
Okay.
What's the weirdest or most uncommon place that you've ever landed?
Oh. Josh had to do it, huh? So one of the first flights I did, I mean, there's a couple, but one that always sticks out in my memory, I had just got my commercial certificate. I'm flying passengers for hire. We're in New Jersey. It's a beautiful night. This couple's just got engaged, and I'm their pilot. Land like 20 minutes prior to sunset, 15 minutes prior to sunset. This beautiful, nice field. Farmer comes out in a four-wheel. I'm like, oh, sweet. Maybe he's got like beer for us or something, because that happens every now and then. He had his shotgun with him, and he used some choice words to say, get off my property. And I was like, well, sunset's in 15 minutes. Did the pumping action of said firearm, and I was like, I should probably get out of here. So that was the weirdest place I've landed at so far, but I got time to beat that. Yeah, so I had to take back off and I landed somewhere else, yeah.
Another question here.
The largest balloon you have, the one that holds 16,000 pounds of lift or whatever it was, 1,600 maybe. Roughly how much would that balloon cost?
So the balloon lifts 6,300 pounds in optimal conditions, which is about, I believe, 70 degrees. It's either 60 or 70 degrees with no humidity or low humidity. That balloon, brand new, all said and done, top to bottom, is about $110,000. Is that look because of the price, or? So, and this tank here is from that balloon, so that's a 20-gallon fuel cylinder. There's no fuel in it. It's completely empty, but we carry 4 of those on board. There are 20-gallon tanks. You can go up and touch it. Just don't twist the valve. But those are stainless steel, and that's part of that system.
And how much would the balloon plus the basket and the burners weigh approximately?
So that whole system full of fuel weighs about 2,100 pounds. And it has, again, so you have that gross lift rating of about 6,300, so you subtract that. Plus you have to do some calculations depending on how hot or humid it is out, and your total lift changes every day dependent on that. And that goes for every aircraft, not just hot air balloons.
I have a question.
Ooh.
And it's
I'm not mowing my lawn.
No. How about my driveway? Could you snowball my driveway? No. I noticed in the balloon, in your video here, there seemed to be a bit of a cowl just on a portion of it,
Mm-hmm.
not all the way around. What's the purpose of that?
So that's called a scoop, and that only helps when the balloon is on the ground. It's for positive pressure to keep the mouth of the balloon open on windy inflation. So part of the video where the balloon was rocking all over the place, that cowl or scoop, in theory, the wind is hitting it and being forced into the mouth to hold it open, so that when we're putting heat to it, we don't burn anything. We're keeping it nice and open. In the air, it serves no purpose. Only on the ground. Yep.
Oh, another question. Here we go. Everyone buckle your seatbelts here.
It's going to be good. So what is your favorite time of the year to fly?
I actually enjoy winter the best, when you have snow on the ground. Yeah, because you get a nice snow cover. Everything's white. There's no leaves on the trees. It's serene. It just looks completely different. But it's really cold. Your feet, you need warm socks and airtight boots, or your feet go. Any other questions?
Any other questions here?
Is that your best time of lift during winter?
Yes. Yeah, so we're always at maximum lift available in the wintertime. Most of the time, not all the time. We actually did a flight in January. We had like a oddly warm January day. It was, I think, like 55. We still had optimal lift, but not as much as if we flew a few days ago when it was like 32 degrees out.
Very, very low dew points.
Yeah, yeah. Your density altitude you want very low. So.
I'll just sort of spin off of here that you had commented about how the at different altitudes the winds go in different places. I had mentioned one of the Kopernik does summer camps. Here, I'll get on the camera here. So Kopernik does summer camps. One of the summer camps we've done is where our students will take a hot air, basically a payload, and fill up a weather balloon with helium, and launch it, and it goes ultimately up to about 100,000 feet. And we have some tracking, ham radio tracking beacons on it, and follow it through its path. So when you get up about, I don't know, 7,000-8,000 feet, the jet stream starts to kick in. Ish.
Yeah, ish. It depends on the day.
Right.
Yeah.
So then there, sometimes you can see, we are tracking. We can actually see the balloon sometimes travels 60, 70 miles an hour. And then when you get up above about 55, 60,000 feet, you're above the jet stream. And sometimes the prevailing winds up there are actually literally going in the opposite direction. So as we're tracking it live, we're seeing it move in that direction, then all of a sudden it starts moving back. And then finally when it bursts, it continues to move in that negative direction until it hits the jet stream again, and then you're following it back again until it finally comes down to the ground. But it was really interesting to sort of see that at different levels of altitude.
Yeah, so we'll get that too. We don't go above 55,000 feet, and we try not to burst either.
Good.
But we've had scenarios where we'll take off and we land back where we took off from, but that is very rare. I've probably done that like 10, 15 times. It's not common in the Northeast. In Albuquerque, which everyone talks about when they talk about ballooning, boring place to fly. It's brown and boring. But you get this thing called the Albuquerque box where you take off at low level, you go one direction, you get some altitude, and you come back the other direction, then you descend, and you can get back to where you took off from. They have this big mountain to the east called the Sandia Mountains, and that's what causes that box wind. Every now and then we'll get it here, and you can kind of get like a rectangle scenario in your flight path, but it's very rare. But we do change direction a lot as we ascend. If you have a very strong lower high pressure, you won't get too much variance, but if you have something moving in, moving out, you can get a lot of direction change, which is pretty cool.
All right. Unless there's any other questions, either on the live stream or here, I want to thank you, Dar, very much for coming here and being able to tell us about what you love. And it's clear the way you present. Oh, I'm sorry. We do have a question. So.
I just want to ask, if you are flying in the winter and landing, how do you store your balloon so that, like if I store a tent or something like that, a mouse could get into my shed and nibble it up. What are you doing to store it? Or are you just using it so regularly that you don't have to worry about it getting wet and then folding it up and folding it back out?
So good question. We keep all of our equipment in trailers. They're enclosed. They change with the temperature outside. But the balloon can get cold, it can get warm. If it's wet, we do want to dry it out. When we land in the wintertime, it's on snow. It will pick up a little moisture, but when it's sitting on the bag, we just kind of put it on its side in the bag. So you put everything in the bag, put it on its side, and it just dries in the bag. It's not that big of an issue. If the balloon is soaked, say the whole thing, say we land and like the storm comes in and the whole thing gets wet, we need to fly that balloon within a couple days, or you'll get some mold developing on the balloon, and we don't want that. That's not good for the aircraft. But landing on snow and stuff, no big deal. And it's generally cold enough the next day, it just kind of evaporates away with the low humidity.
All right. Oh, yeah, another question. Good.
I hope this is not insulting. Is this your full-time job?
Not insulting at all. Yeah, it works. It works for now, so I can buy things that I want. So, and I don't have any kids, so it works out great.
All right. Well, again, Dar, I really thank you for your time and expertise. It was great.
Thanks for having me.
Great to hear you. So, especially for those people who maybe are here for the first time, Again, as you head out, you can grab a card to come back on another night, because we'd love to be able to show you the night sky here. It's one of the things that people, even who live in the area, will come up here and like, where did all these stars come from? And so you got to come back and look through our scopes. But I'd be happy to give a tour. So Sasha, could you open up the 6 and the 20? And let's see, it's I got 2112. So at say 20 after, meet me out here in the lobby who'd like to see a tour of the telescopes, and we'll take you out there and do that for you. All right. So thanks again.
Yeah, my pleasure. One last thing, I brought a bunch of stickers. If anyone wants a sticker, come up and grab it. Rule is you have to put it on one of your enemy's cars, though, on the windshield. All right. So, but I got plenty of stickers, so come up and grab them. And then thanks again. Yeah. We charge 340 per person.